Hi, I'm Dr. Mary Pat O'Malley Kieran, lecturer in speech and language therapy with almost 25 years of working with families. I'm also the creator of TalkNua.com, where you will find simple but powerful strategies for developing all of your child's languages while still having fun. So in today's video, I'm going to remind you of 3 crucial things to think about when you are raising multilingual children or working with multilingual children in a professional capacity. So the first really important thing to remember is what's called distributed skills and uneven ability. What does that mean? So basically that means that when you are raising a multilingual child, you're not raising, let's say if 3 languages are being spoken in your family, 3 monolingual speakers of each separate language in the one child. That's not how multilingual language development operates. So what it means is that your child is going to have stronger skills in certain aspects of one language at one particular time and stronger skills in different aspects of the other language at different points in time. Why is that? That's because multilingual children begin to speak the different languages at different ages with different people for different reasons. They get different amounts of exposure to each of their languages and different amounts of opportunities to use them. So for example, in monolingual children, you expect all aspects of language development to improve over time. So from listening, speaking, reading, writing, say vocabulary, storytelling, for instance, it's all kind of on an upward trajectory because they're only being exposed and using one language. With multilingual children, however, they're developing 2 or 3 languages, for instance, for different purposes with different people. So they might have a home language that they use at home with siblings and with their grandparents, for example, and extended family. Then they may have a community language that's also the language of their education. So you need different language vocabulary, say for instance, for talking about science experiments in school than you do about talking about your favorite TV program with your sibling. So your skills for telling the story of your favorite TV program, for instance, may be stronger in one language than they are in the community language when their languages are different. What this means then basically is you get uneven ability across time in children who are developing 2 languages or more. And what it means then is that if your child's language is being tested, they need to be tested in the different languages at different time points and across different tasks in order for the professional to get a fair representation of your child's language abilities. So that's number 1, distribution of skills and uneven abilities in the different languages. It's not a problem, it's not a sign of a problem. It just means that you need to take the age at which the child started acquiring the languages, the amount of exposure they're getting, the opportunities to use the languages that they have, and also the social status of the languages. All of these factors will influence their language development in each of the languages. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing then is what's called cross-linguistic association. What does this mean? Another fancy word. So basically what this means is that in multilingual children, the languages are stored separately, but they're not totally cut off from each other, so they do influence each other. And what this means is, for example, that a child may use an accent or a sound, really, that's what accent is a speech sound from one language in the other language. So the languages do interact with each other, and they interact sometimes in kind of unpredictable ways because every family is different, and the unique combination of the languages is a factor to bear in mind. So if languages are close together, do they belong to the same kind of family of languages, or are they radically different? So you do get cross-linguistic associations or effects, so the languages influence each other. Again, this isn't a sign of a problem or the cause of a problem, it's a natural feature of multilingual language development. So that's number 2, cross-linguistic associations, the languages affect each other. And number 3 then is individual variation. And this is really, I think, a wonderful thing, because basically what this means is that each child is different and that we must remember that when we are testing children, and each context of multilingual development in children is unique. So in the research, researchers try to group together similar groups of children. So for example, children who speak the same languages acquired at in or around about the same amount of time with the same amount of exposure. But what the research has found is that even within these groups of well-matched bilingual or multilingual children, you get a lot of individual variation on test performance or different tasks. You get a lot of individual variation between groups of bilingual and multilingual developing children. So that basically why this is important to remember is that your situation is unique. And because the research shows all of this individual variation within groups and between groups, it means it's really never valid to compare your multilingual child's speech development to a monolingual child's speech and language development, because they are not the same thing. They're different, and individual variation is a key feature of multilingual language development, and it's something to embrace. It does mean, however, if your child's being referred with, say, to speech and language therapy, that in order for their language to be assessed in a kind of a representative or a fair way, they need to be tested at different ages, on different tasks, and at different time periods and in different settings across all of the languages in order to get a fair and representative picture of what their language abilities are like. Okay, so just to recap, that's 3 crucial things to remember about raising multilingual children or working with multilingual children. Number 1 is you get distribution of language skills and uneven abilities across the languages over time, because children are developing different languages in different contexts with different social statuses attached to them. Second thing to remember is cross-linguistic association. Languages are stored separately, but they are interdependent in that they do interact with each other. That's normal. And number 3 is the beauty of individual variation, where each situation is unique. There's no one size fits all here, and it's really important to remember that individual variation is a key characteristic of language development in multilingual children. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please pass it on to your friends. And if you haven't already, I'd be delighted if you went over to talknua.com and signed up for email updates. I post every 2 weeks with top tips that are research based for developing all of your child's languages. Let's get talking.